part of it, getting people who have never been on stage so that they can see how hard it is to put up a show and all the little ins and outs. And I always say this too, like during tech week, right before you're going to open the show, it feels like, did we make a bad decision? Like, can we really do can we do this? Then you always find that you can, and you do, but like you gotta ride that razor's edge a little bit to walk away from it with some growth, I think,
I like the way you say that. Like you're going to suck for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to Creepalachia. It has arrived. I get to talk to the West Virginia Collective folks. I'd like to welcome to the studio. We have Adam, we have Olivia, and we've got Jamie repping the club. Thanks for being here, y'all. And thank you for taking my money. Yeah, so for everyone listening, for every 10,000 followers we gain on Facebook, I thought it would be cool to donate $1,000 to an initiative in the arts and culture world. And I've always heard amazing things about you all. And part of that, we're going to have you in here to talk about the initiative. So who's first? Let's start with Adam. So where are you from, Adam? What's your story?
I'm from Pineville, West Virginia, originally. Made it out alive. I'm here today with Jamie and Olivia. Jamie and I co-founded the collective in 2017 with another fella. We've been doing plays, festivals, about any kind of entertainment thing you could think of here in Beckley for 8 years now.
Wow,
we got several in the pipe, so we're happy to be here.
Heck yeah! So, what about you, Olivia? You next?
Okay, well, my name's Olivia Merritt. I'm from Fayetteville, so I've only been involved with the collective for about a year. So last year, Jamie's wife reached out to me. I've known Jamie and Tiff for years, because Adam over here had a role in a play that he needed to fill. And so that led him to me. And I am currently directing Steel Magnolias with the collective, which opens next month.
Heck yeah, which is trauma for me.
Yeah, it's very traumatic.
We talked about it, and we'll definitely get into that.
Yeah.
I'll tell some good diabetes stories. And Jamie, and let's get, and Adam Taylor, let's give last names. I told him I'm not going to give last names because my memory is terrible. But since Olivia went, this is Adam Taylor. Y'all may have saw him on a couple billboards around town.
Man, don't be doing that. I got that big ball of glare coming off of it. Yeah.
Oh man, you look good. And you was in a movie. We just talked about the movie
Ambrosia.
Yes, that I donated to. And I'm not going to call Shane out. I may have not got a T-shirt. I may have not got a T-shirt.
I'll call Shane out.
Okay.
I'm tight with Shane. I love Shane, so I feel comfortable saying, Shane, give the man his T-shirt.
Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, Jamie, where are you from?
My name's Jamie Smith. I'm from Coal City originally, but moved to Beckley when I was about 10. And I certainly had no background in the theater until I started doing some work for the Bickies, who owned and operated the Raleigh at the time, which was probably 2014 or 15, maybe something like that.
For those who don't know the movie theater you're talking about.
Yeah, the Raleigh Playhouse and Theater in downtown Beckley. And George was, putting up this one-act festival, and he was like, you guys would be great in this. And that's when I got my start in theater. And, fast forward a couple years later, we founded the collective and have done, over 20 different productions over the course of this time, and we're going to keep going.
Heck yeah. So what was the official first year?
Jamie, you're best to talk about this.
Yeah, so and there's a timeline on our website, wvcollective.org, but our first real production, I believe, was doing the Last Waltz redo, which was, kind of spearheaded by Matt Mullins. He wanted to do a West Virginia version of the band's famous film, The Last Waltz. So we got musicians from all over the state together in the Raleigh Playhouse the night before Thanksgiving. And everybody did a couple songs from the band's famous album and movie. We kind of did a reboot of that. And then we put up
Abomination was probably the
Yeah, I
first
got
one.
Abomination
I got a cheat
on the
sheet behind you.
timeline. Yeah, we got the cheat sheet here.
Yeah, so Abomination was technically not the collective, but that would have been
But it was, right?
that was the first time this like crew all got together and put something up. You know, we did Abomination with George Bickey was the director of that show, and it was put up at the Raleigh. It was written by my good friend JC Lossick, and it was the start of us working with him. We've now done 3 of his productions total, starting with Abomination. Then we did Frack the Mountain Music Comedy Spectacular, which is a mouthful, but that was a hilarious show about a West Virginia family who falls on hard times, and they actually get gas well installed on their property, and the fumes start to make everybody go crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's songs that come from people losing their lucidity. And yeah, that was awesome. And then we did a West Virginia story at the end of 2023. So that was our history of working with Chris. But yeah, you know, we've just essentially been here to give a voice to Appalachian people, you know, like telling these stories that are written by people in West Virginia has been a huge component of it. Giving a voice to people in the LGBTQ community when we did Hedwig and the Angry Inch, you know, like these are stories that most people probably would not want to take the risk to put up. And we were like, come hell or high water, we're going to provide a platform for this kind of stuff, you know. And I think everybody's really getting on board with it now. You know, there's certainly people who try to put up walls left and right, but they can't, you know, there's too much momentum. So
that's great. So what's it like for y'all to be creative in Appalachia? Like, I know for me, I feel like all the creative people know all the creative people. I don't know if y'all feel like that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we all either know each other or are connected in some way.
Sure. Yeah. I feel that way. And not that, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of creatives we don't know, but typically the ones who have the insane ideas you hear from in the public.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, or they're starting a band, or they're shooting a movie, or they're doing some kind of thing. So, Adam, let's go with you first. What was your first initiation into the collective?
So I'm going to answer that, and it'll lead me into an answer to your question too about, you know, how everybody pulls together, right? Mm-hmm. So I was practicing downtown. I was walking down Prince Street, and I saw, this was 2016. So this was right before, maybe right after those elections, 2016 elections. And I saw a T-shirt in the window of kid in the background where Jamie and this other fellow used to work. And it was a West Virginia shirt that was had like the Bernie Sanders outline. And I was like, well, God, that's the weirdest thing, you know, because I'm in, you know, deep red West Virginia, right? And somebody's out here hawking Bernie Sanders shirts. So I'm like, all right, I'll check this out. I'll walk in and start this conversation. I'm there for a while. We talk about the arts. You know, I graduated with an undergrad in theater from West Virginia University. You know, I see play posters on the wall. We start talking about that. Fast forward a few months, and I'm approached by these fellas, and they come and they say, hey, you know, we're looking to kind of legitimize this thing, right? We're looking to start a company and make it a nonprofit. We want to do shows. We know you were a professional stage manager. You worked the stuff. You know, what's the next step? So I acted like I'd done this before, and I had not. As far as forming a company. So I get on Google and everything else, and we get the company started. We get the 501c3 certification, and we go from there. The first show we put up as officially the West Virginia Collective, I believe you said you saw it, was Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And here's the thing about that show. And here's what that show showed me that we could do in Southern West Virginia, right? It's a good show. And we staged it competently, and we didn't dumb it down. We targeted it towards adults. We sold beer in the house, right? We made it to where you could just come out and have a good time. You could wear, you know, cutoffs and jeans. You know, nobody cares, right? Just come out, enjoy yourself, have a few drinks, and enjoy it. And I was like, yeah, this is a pretty cool show. It's funny, you know, it's well performed, but people lost their minds about that show, right? and I'll tell you why. It was just because I think there was an implicit recognition there that we had something new and we had something good and people could come out and see it, and it had momentum, and they knew that that meant that we could really be something special here in Little Beckley, West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I was talking about with the artists. You know, I'm going to do something I learned in Morgantown. It's not crude. West Virginia, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
All right. So Beckley is right here, right? It is at the edge of civilization as far as I'm concerned. I'm from Wyoming County, and I say that with the utmost of love. But you start talking about down here, there ain't nothing there, right? And I love those places. But as far as if you're an artist or a creative and you want to be somewhere in Southern West Virginia, if you got family here, if you got a job here, whatever, Beckley is the logical place for you to be. So Beckley has a disproportionate amount of talent in it. For a city of its size, it has a disproportionate amount of talented artists, talented young people, because they wanted to move here to have something as close as they could to having, you know, life in a more developed area, right? I don't say that in like a city of champions, rah kind of way. I say it because it's true. You know, there's a tremendous amount of talent here, and that has emboldened and enabled this organization to do some special things.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that. So I grew up in McDowell, and I remember hearing things of like, you know, you better move out. You better do this. You better do that. And I personally, I never felt that way. I saw it as like, you know what? I'm going to do something and I'm going to learn to do it well. And people are going to be able to pay attention in this area because not that not many are doing it, but not many are pursuing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're told like, get your minor card and, you know, go do that, which I did. And I think is great. But I think, you know, part of the reason a lot of the kids are moving is because they're told their entire life that you got to move. You know what I mean? Instead of looking around at what you got and kind of piecing it together and trying to make something out of it. You know what I mean? Like, I know, and I love Beckley. Like, I feel like I'm in Pigeon Forge compared to where I grew up.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
When I moved
mean
from
that.
Coal City, I remember saying, I'm moving to the city.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean that in the most kindest way. Like, I love my home. I love Welch so much. It has such a warm place in my heart. But I do like being able to, you know, go to a steakhouse or do this stuff or this and that there. But at the same time, it was kind of cool to grow up with limited resources because it's really zeroed in your creativity to be like, you know,
Yes.
how can I make this thing in my backyard?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I've worked in the music scene for a long time around here and said the same thing, echoing what Adam said, is like, why is there so many talented musicians here, you know? And that's a conclusion I came to, is we were just really bored.
Yeah.
You know, like,
What else are we going to do?
yeah. And like, I lived in San Francisco for a while, right? And you go to a music event or a venue or something, and there's all these people, like thousands of people were creating all the time. And half the time I'd be like, well, it's been that great, you know?
Sure.
But I think we don't have here a lot of that experience with all these other people feeling free to just do whatever. Like, we have the best records that have ever been made. That's our standard, right? Like, we
Right.
set the bar right there. And it's like, I got to get up to that level. I got to get to this level. And I think if anybody starts pursuing these things, they just go really hard, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you, I ask you, Jamie, like, did you ever have a point to where you had to check your ego at the door? Because I feel like a lot of times when I was first starting out making films, for instance, I felt like a lot of us that had so much in common were just like, oh, I could do this so much better than that guy. And we're all making peanuts. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all are in this together. But I'm just curious, like, in the music scene, is there a lot of competition? I don't feel like there is, but I'm not involved in it. I played bass guitar for like 3 years, but I'm just wondering if egos get in the way in Appalachia, or is it less here?
I'm sure case by case, there's probably people that are going to butt heads, but ultimately, no, it's a huge collaborative environment. And for instance, we put on WV Pub Fest every year, and like musicians from all over the state get to come together and just kind of kick it, hang out. There's never any of that kind of
Heck
energy
yeah.
there, I would say, you know.
That's great because every musician I've met is like the nicest person on the planet. Like my real good friend of mine's Matt Deal.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
I swear he's
Friend of the collective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deal.
he's one of
I
the
produced
best
his first
people.
EP.
What is it?
I produced his first EP.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we grew up together.
Nice.
But even still, that being, I mean, I'm a little biased, but he is one of the nicest dudes I know. And I just feel like a majority of the artists, like Matt Mullins contacted me, about a month ago, and he was just so down to earth, and I've never talked to him. And it was like you instantly connect with these people. I don't know.
He's got
Yeah.
Welch roots too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's got, because we was talking about people that lived in the county and stuff. So I think he has a lot of roots down there.
Yeah.
But-
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So Olivia, when
Yes.
what was your first project with the team? I know you mentioned about a year
Yeah.
ago. You talked about or go ahead. I don't want to cut you
Yeah,
off.
no. So I did a lot of theater with the Bickies. Jamie and I have known each other for years and have done productions together before the collective was formed. So the first project that I was involved in was a one-act play that Adam directed called No Exit. And it's like this French existentialist piece about these three people who are trapped in hell together.
Oh,
and,
nice.
yeah, I mean, it's a great show. But, essentially they all they clash. They have nothing in common. Each of them has something that the other one wants that they're not willing to give. And they have no way to grow or experience any sort of growth. So they're just kind of trapped in this room together as exactly who they are for eternity.
Yeah.
But that was the first project that I did with them. And that was a year ago. And from there, I just did Heathers with
The
Adam
movie?
as well. Heather's it was a musical. We
Was
did that at
before
the
that?
Raleigh. Yeah.
Yep.
In November. And now I'm directing Still Magnolias, which is fantastic because it's a show that is very personal to me that I've been in twice. So it's kind of like a fated
Oh, wow.
project for me to direct as the first show I've ever directed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before last year, I had taken quite a long break from the theater, probably like 5 years. And so, I mean, here we are.
Yeah. So let's talk about that movie. So you mentioned
Yeah,
Heathers.
Yeah, that movie.
How do and I'm
Sure.
so not I'm not versed in this, so I'm going to sound really dumb, but did they write a play or a musical about Heathers first and then the movie? Or does it have nothing to do with the movie?
So the movie was first,
Okay.
and then the musical it's based on the movie. I'm not sure when it was written. It's relatively new, maybe 10, 15-ish years
Yeah.
ago is when it was made. But it's quite common nowadays to have musicals that are based on movies.
Yeah.
Steel Magnolias is the opposite. The movie is based on the play. But yeah, for Heathers in that instance, the film was first.
Yeah, and that was probably what a 5-year slow burn on that one, because we would sit together like the admins for collective. We would read a bunch of different scripts and we would try to figure out what are we doing next year. And I don't have much of a theater background, so when I'm going through this list of potentials, Heathers sticks. I was like,
Heck yeah.
what? Like the movie from the 80s?
Christian Slater did.
Yeah,
That's
dude,
right.
Winona Ryder. So I was like, brought it to the table, and luckily I was with some knuckleheads that were crazy enough to put that show up. It did, like I say, it took some time, but man, what a moment!
That's so
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Beckley had never seen anything like it, I would say. So
So, all right, Steel Magnolias. Here's my
Steel
trauma.
Magnolias. Yep. Let's hear it.
Olivia.
Go ahead.
So I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I watched this freaking movie
Yeah.
when I was
Yeah.
a kid, and Julia Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna spoil it? You gonna spoil it?
Yeah.
There's spoilers, okay? So you
Spoiler
got
alert.
5
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
You got 5 seconds to turn this off. There are spoilers here. If you haven't watched that movie,
Yeah.
it's been out since like 88.
Yeah. Yeah.
The diabetic dies in front of her child, I think. Or so anyway, so I'm watching it, and then Julia Roberts starts freaking out.
Yep.
On this in this beautician shop, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then they're like, she's a diabetic, and I'm like,
Right,
oh,
yeah.
and then the music goes, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have diabetes. What's going on? And then eventually she dies because she can't get pregnant, but she gets pregnant because she wants a freaking baby.
Yep.
And she dies because her freaking kidneys fail. And I just thought, okay, I got about 5 years.
Yep.
I'm 10 years old. I got about 5 years before I'm going to
About
die.
5 years.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Better drink your juice, you know.
So is that in the play? Because I can't go through that.
So yes, she does die in the play. Shelby dies in the play. But it is the play is the whole play takes place in the beauty shop in Truvy's beauty spot, and the only characters in it are the 6 women.
Right.
And it takes place over the course of about 2 years. So you don't actually see Shelby die on stage.
Okay.
So
I can handle that.
spoiler alert.
You say that.
I mean,
But no, I mean it's really going to be worth coming to see. So the 2 women that are playing Shelby and Malin are real life mother and daughter.
right.
And I mean, that energy is just insane.
fun.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, very real,
Yeah.
very tense to watch them on the stage. I mean, just that energy just reads so well out into the audience, and it's going to be just.
I'm gonna have to check
Amazing.
it out. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
I don't, you know, I need to grow up. Like movies have
Yeah,
trauma and
they
pain
do.
in it. That's part of the fun.
Mhm.
I think so. You get to
So-
experience it without the actual, stuff. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I mean, Steel Magnolias is really difficult to watch. I haven't watched it in years, and I probably won't watch it until we're finished with this production. But
It's a
it's
great.
a hard watch.
Yeah, it's- I mean,
gotta
it's-
look away at some moments.
What's the guy's name that played the dad? Tom. What's his name?
Oh gosh, what is his name?
Y'all would know him if you
Yeah.
saw him. People are probably screaming right now, but the guy in the movie was hilarious. Like it started out as like a comedy.
Drum Eatonton. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's also very funny.
Yeah,
Thank God, because if it wasn't,
yeah.
Yeah,
Trudy's-
Weezer is still in the show.
Weezer is still in the show. You know, we still hear Drum. We still hear Shelby's dad, or hear of him. You know, we hear his firing his gun at the dog, and well, the bird's not the dog, but
I bet that is good.
yeah, it's good.
Can't believe we got Weezer to play the show. It's incredible.
Oh yeah,
Coming
only
up.
the best
Yeah.
in Beckley.
That's right.
That's right.
So yeah, when is it playing exactly? Like, what's the schedule?
So April 17th is opening night, and it runs for 2 weekends with closing on the 27th.
26.
26.
26.
26. Closing
26th,
matinee.
April
That's right.
26th.
Matinee.
We were gonna close
1
that
o'clock
night.
matinee. We were going to close that night.
Yeah.
But Shelby
Prom night.
has to go to senior prom.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
so I mean, we're not going to rob her for that experience. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Don't forget the orange juice.
yeah, don't forget the orange juice. Take
Yeah.
your orange juice, some peppermints to prom, you know.
So let's talk about the process. Let's
Sure.
Steel Magnolias, for instance. So you all just kind of get together. Do you have like a brain trust of like, all right, here's the scripts, y'all. Throw out some ideas.
Kind
you
of.
know.
So let me tell you how much we've evolved.
Most
as an
cuss words
organization.
win.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Is
Yeah.
that-
I know this is a family show, but like you have no idea. But so when the collective started, it was us sitting around drinking a bunch of peebers, probably about 6 deep a piece, sitting around. What should we call this organization? And we called it Beckley Artistic Endeavors because at that very moment in time, we thought it would be hilarious to be able to call our organization the acronym BAY, right?
Oh, nice.
So no, it wasn't nice at all. So we got it
Been a point of
registered.
contention.
And we were like, this is bad. We'll just DBA it WV Collective. So that's how the name process of this organization started. Now, fast forward 7 years, we have a board, a tax designation. We are as official as could be. We sit around. We have a 2-tier process. You know, people nominate shows. We all share them amongst each other. Then we come back and talk about the viability of the show here. You know, is there interest in Beckley? Do we have the talent pool to support it? Do we have the money to support it? And I'll tell you, you know, the one that I try not to forget about is, are you passionate about this show? Right? That's the biggest thing. If you got somebody that really wants to push a show and really wants to have an event or a show and like they're going to make it good because they care about it, that's it. Like what I want to always avoid is just getting in this rhythm where they're like, yeah, let's do this show because it's kind of popular and we can probably do it, right? Like that sucks. And that's going to reflect in the show that it's going to be bad because nobody cares.
Sure.
You know? So as far as show selection, that's how it works. You know, you always have to send off to MTI or some other organization to obtain the rights, and that's usually pretty expensive. But after that, green light.
How expensive we talking?
It depends. They've got sliders, and Jamie always handles the ordering, but they've got sliders on their website. You can say how many nights you're going to do it, how big's your house, when is it, because they've got to check not only how many butts you're going to put in the seats, but they also want to check to see if there's like a national tour coming through, right? Because they don't want you to yuck on that national tour. There's a lot of factors, but it's how much was steel? It was couple thousand.
Steel was probably a couple grand. You know, you look at a big musical, typically those are in the $4,000 and $5,000 range. But kind of like Adam said, they want a clause. You know, they don't want people performing Heathers within certain radius. And we had people drive up from North Carolina to come see Heathers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So,
That's
like
awesome.
a whole family that dressed the part.
Yeah,
and
they
everything.
dressed up.
So-
They were in costumes. It was
Yeah, man.
incredible.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you'll really hit a lick with it. Like we did in 2018, we did Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I directed it. A local gentleman by the name of Greg Lilly starred in it.
The auto part or the car lot?
No, there's so many Greg Lillys
Okay.
around here. I know a
One
banker,
might
the
think
auto part guy.
Right.
I know half a dozen. But along with Emily Hancock, 2-person show. That is a show about a transgender punk rock singer. You know, pretty wild stuff for anywhere, let alone Beckley, West Virginia, right? But it turned out that is a real niche show and people love it. We had people driving from states around to come see that show, you know, 3-hour, 4-hour trips to come see Hedwig. And we sold out just about every night. But it was cool because that was also the show production hit right around the time as the Beckley non-discrimination ordinance was going through. So this show that was highly themed around, you know, these queer themes, these, you know, identity issues, you know, not disenfranchising people, you know, all this heavy hitting stuff was also being played out down at City Hall. And what the show ended up doing was providing like this focal lens for that movement and some solidarity. So folks would talk about that, talk about City Hall. You know, there was this synergy, and the same crowd that was showing up to that show, you know, night after night sometimes was the same one that was down there filling up the Armory when we were having those meetings down for City Hall. You know, it was wild. And that is, to me, maybe the best example of what we've done and why we're doing it. You know?
Arts and culture brings more people together than anything else. And that's kind of why I decided, I was like, you know, what's something cool I can do as we grow? And I was like, arts and culture nonprofits. And then I instantly thought of y'all. And I knew Kelly, and I knew of y'all. I've never met y'all until today, but hey. So I that's what I love about it is storytelling to me is the most unifying thing that can exist if you do it properly. And a lot of people, I think today, don't.
Yeah.
So I think when things like this come along, when you see people in the community and you watch this story and you see how everyone just buys in, really connects people. So I can see something like that really being popular.
Well, I think there's something to be said for, you know, art as a catalyst to open a discussion that maybe people wouldn't be open to, right? Like you can, if you tell a story the right way, you can make somebody who thinks they don't like this set of people identify them as people again, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to let, you know, doom scrolling disconnect you from the fact that these people you quote unquote disagree with are your community, your fellow community members, your family members, whoever, you know, and like, I think art can open that chain of thoughts in your head without wagging the finger and making you put a wall up, you know, essentially.
Yeah.
So,
and because West Virginians do that, if you can't tell them anything,
no.
Right.
first
Yeah.
off, you can show them things,
Yes.
but it's like music. Like I believe what causes the most wars is speaking a different language. And things like music and plays or anything that transcends language. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like where you
absolutely.
can feel emotion.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's literally could create world peace. But one thing at a time.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
Yeah, we'll start with Beckley.
Right.
We had an interesting conversation amongst our board a couple months ago, right? Yeah, there's all kinds of and this isn't like political per se. It's just something we had to deal with as an organization.
Sure.
All these EOs coming out about, what's going on at the federal level, right? There was word from on high that said, to pursue a National Endowment for the Arts grant, you could no longer essentially have productions or be pushing DEI, right? And we had a pretty, I don't want to say heated because we're all on the same page with it, but we had a meaningful back and forth. We have a little group chat, so we were all, tippy tapping about it, about what that means and what that means for our organization. Because most of those big ticket grants are going to come in trickling down from the National Endowment for the Arts. So that's a big deal, right? And the order itself wasn't even that long. It just said, if you're having programs that are designed to push DEI, or that's, I guess, a collateral consequence of what you're doing, then you're not good for the NEA. We're not going to give you any money, right? You have to make that pledge that you won't do these things when you get the grant.
Sure.
So we had to have this big discussion in our organization about theater and the arts, I think in whole, is at its best when it is lifting up and putting a magnifying glass on the disenfranchised, on the poor, on the other, right? Yes. If you don't understand these people, then, maybe that's you, right? If you don't understand a cause, a culture, a type of being, somebody that's different from you, then you're never going to be able to empathize with them, right? Any good play is going to do that. Any good play, if you're talking about, okay, we can't do DEI. Well, does that mean we can't do Death of a Salesman? Because that's all about, self-worth and societal equity and poverty issues and that kind of thing. Can we not do a Raisin in the Sun because it focuses on racial issues? Not being able to do DEI in the theater is such an expansive term, while at the same time meaning nothing, right? That we just decided we couldn't engage with it. So we made the tough decision to not, we've got a current production where we're very thankful to have already been awarded a grant, and we're going to, it wouldn't run afoul of that. But in the future, until those policies change, I don't feel like we can be honest with ourselves and them and say that we're going to not do anything that would pursue DEI. So we're having to eschew funding opportunities now because of this thing.
That's odd. And yeah, I don't think this is a good conversation. I've mentioned we don't do politics, but this transcends that. You can't have drama without struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Just everyone is okay.
Everyone's okay. That's it.
There's no story arc.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You got to suffer to sing the blues, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Conflict is the essence of theater,
Yes,
whether it's self
100%.
or with others or with society or whatever. You can't just have it be hunky dory all the time.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It would be, it sounds bad. It'd be boring. Okay,
Well, yeah.
I went to work and nothing happened. I went home, everyone's healthy. It's very boring. So it wouldn't be fun to watch. And that sounds weird, but everyone knows what I'm saying. A good story has an arc, has a down, has a, now some are more depressing than others. If you're watching a Lars von Trier movie or something, don't go into that thinking that you're gonna feel good leaving it. But at the same time, he's kind of a genius. So you get different things from different things. But anyways, I'm going a little deep. But so on Little Shop of Horrors, I saw that one. How, when you make the props and stuff, or what's the next step? So you have the PBR, you get blasted. And I'd
say we got blasted now.
What? No, I'd like to request that the whole $1,000 just buys beer for these
buddy.
sessions.
That's a lot of PBR.
But anyway, of course, y'all know that, I'm sure y'all are responsible drinkers. But so you do that. Do you have a casting call, or what's the next step after you know where you got your rights purchased, Like, what's next?
Yeah, because you can't even promote that you're doing the show or run auditions or anything until you've secured those rights. So that's
We learned that one.
we learned that one the hard way.
Ooh, tell me this
Being
story.
novices.
oh,
We had set out to do a show, and it's one of these big musicals, big budget, and we went ahead and set out to get the contract, applied for it, I guess. And we said, let's go ahead and put it out that we're casting this thing.
it'll be fine.
Yeah, they come back. They're like, no, you can't do it. They're doing it in Philly during that same time.
Wow.
So got to shut down after we had we done a
Oh, buddy, we
Audition?
cast the show.
we cast
It was
the show
up.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, good ending to this story because that show's name was
Avenue Q.
and
Yeah, it's coming up this fall. We're gonna be
That's
doing
right.
it this fall.
And we
as
got the
long as-
rights.
We have the
nice.
rights as long as we have a
Is that-
venue. I
is
think
this
we'll
the
be
first-
good to go.
This is the first time you've announced it, right?
Well,
you haven't seen
We've
it anywhere
told
yet.
people we're
Yeah.
having it, but the venue is in turmoil right
Right, that's
now.
up in the air,
It's
yeah.
kind of up in the air. We don't really have a home right now. So
So is it because you're in the same like region? I mean, you're not going to pull people from Philadelphia, right? I mean, maybe.
No.
once
Well-
again, there were people who, through the power of the internet, found out we were doing Hedwig, found out we were doing Heather's, all these different shows, and they would drive from Charlotte or from Pennsylvania or whatever. So yeah,
Oh,
I mean, they could.
That's
I
awesome.
doubt if it was running at a big theater in Philly, would someone come from Philly to here to see it? No.
Probably not.
Absolutely
No, probably not.
Yeah, that's. I
Um,
guess you got to have those rules to certain. They probably have like some kind of mileage limit or some kind of radius.
You got image releases. You understand IP. You know how these things go.
I mean, halfway. I totally wrote those, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
I'm a
done.
certified legal representative. Totally, I can represent anyone that contact. Actually, no. But Adam's going to be my rep.
That's right.
Yeah, he done said if someone comes up with some defamation, he's got my back pro bono. He's
Buddy,
saying
you
it
and
right
me
on there.
like this.
No, of course I'd pay you. But anyway, all right. So you get the rights, casting call.
Casting
Like,
call,
where
open
do you-
auditions.
Open auditions, yeah.
So you just put out an audition notice. Typically, well, I guess it depends on the director. Like for Steel Magnolias, I had sides printed out for them to read, which are just little excerpts from the script.
Right.
And they all just kind of like, I'll move them around and they read for different characters. But some people might ask for a monologue. But they're open to anyone. Anyone who wants to come and audition can do so. And we have gotten a lot of brand new talent
I can
by doing
audition.
it that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
come on down.
Ooh, okay.
Please.
Yeah.
Not for
I mean-
Steel Magnolias. It's already
I mean-
been cast.
Well, I
You-
mean,
you can
I don't.
audition.
Yeah, you can audition.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. That's good to know.
you can be our diabetes consultant.
Yes,
That's
I can
right.
consult.
So,
Okay, like
yeah.
she wouldn't shake like that. Okay,
Yeah.
like it's not. I know with the movie, it's not as dramatic
Yeah.
as the freaking movie. You just,
Yeah.
It's like my sugar could be low right now, and you wouldn't know. you
Yeah.
know? And then you just start hearing my pump go bam, bam, bam. You're like, what in the hell's going on?
Yeah.
We'll
But-
dress you up
I
like
don't know.
Wilford
If, I don't know
Brimley.
if that would have the same effect.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have.
You gotta have the.
Do you have like
I'm not-
music and stuff? Like you have the orchestral swells, or do you have some kind of certain soundtrack that they send you with these rights, or do you like what? How does that work?
So each show's different. Like a musical, obviously, is going to have, the songs that people are singing to and all that. But then, yeah, you would have musical kind of interludes in between scenes and stuff that
Right.
builds momentum. And then you have what we call, I guess, straight plays,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is a non-musical. And so there's a lot less that kind of component. There will be
Yeah.
sound cues, sound effects. We're not going to shoot off an actual pistol. Should we need to do that, we might use an audio cue for that, or telephones ringing, things like that. But yeah, technically speaking, that's kind of the
do
difference.
you have the
between
guns,
those two.
the cap guns that smoke and stuff
We used them before, I want to say.
before?
I don't remember a cap gun. We used actual pistols from TWV
Nice.
in the past, so that was cool. They've been putting on those productions, Hatfields and McCoys and all that kind of stuff for years. So we got to use some of their
I
firearms.
got that
from
thing on them.
Yeah, they keep that thing on.
That's awesome. All right, and so. And I'm assuming you really sing. That's probably a dumb question, or is it lip sync?
Yeah,
We tried.
um,
Yeah,
Okay.
in
Yeah.
the musicals, it would be all singing. And up until Heather's, we'd used a live band every time, which was kind of new for the area, I would say.
Yeah.
Like most of the musical productions I'd seen had been to recordings like instrumental recordings people sing over.
Did you piece together the band, or was it like, all right, we're gonna get Matt Mullins and the Bring Downs to come and do this?
So it's funny, the first one that we kind of tried to produce as Kid in the Background was Frack, the Mountain Music Comedy Spectacular, and I want to say the band was different every time we did it, just because we couldn't nail down these hippies to show up to every show. They're like, I'm playing up in wherever,
Mountain Music Festival,
Floyd Fest, so it's like, okay, well, can I have you on Thursday? And so, so what a unique experience that was. The music was different every night.
Magical.
That's live theater. You're never going to have the same show more than once. It's different
that's
every
a fact.
night,
I love that kind of ethereal element of theater. Is
Absolutely.
that like literally every single night? And it's been my experience. It gets better every night.
Yeah.
Right.
For
People
sure.
are really settling into their roles, and by the last night, it's perfect.
Perfect.
And you never do it again.
And then it's over.
How many nights do they usually go? Is each show different, or are you like, kind of deciding the schedule ahead of time?
We started out doing one weekend, like a long weekend, like a Wednesday through a Sunday at a time. Recently, our shows, again, knock on wood, have been as successful as to merit 2 weekends. But man, it's wacky the way we have to deal with some unexpected stuff. We sell drinks at our shows. We sell craft beer. We sell cocktails that we vary depending on what show we're doing. We have some very talented bartenders. But we have to every time go through the state ABCA to get a liquor license, like a special permit liquor license for our humble nonprofit. And that can only run 10 days at a time. So like for Heather's, we're having to restrict our run within that 10-day window just to deal with that. And, that's the kind of thing, I'm sure you felt this a million times as a producer of a show, you never expect to run into when you're sitting there drinking Peeber and calling your organization something you're going to regret. Right?
Sure, yeah.
All these little collateral problems just pop up and you got to deal with them.
No regrets. I have that on my back. You believe that? I get this freaking tattoo, and then the movie comes out with the guy who has no regrets misspelled on his.
No,
and I was like, of course.
Of course.
I thought that was so unique. I was in the drive-through Taco Bell, and I was like, I'm gonna get a tattoo, and my friend was like, do it, dude. This is so cool. He's like 19.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I go over there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm getting no regrets.
No regrets. One
And
too
he's like,
many
"That's a good
Baja
saying, man."
Blasts.
No
strong
regrets.
tattoo choice.
Yeah,
for
strong
that.
tattoo choice.
Oh man! And the funny part is, I regret the tattoo. So it's
Can't
like,
do
I'm just a walking contradiction.
Man, the paradox.
Yeah. But all right. So how many people usually come to these casting calls? Does it vary, like depending on the show?
It definitely does.
Varies depending on the show. We probably had
22, I want to
20,
say.
about 22 come for Steel Magnolias. We had 30 maybe sign up. So usually we'll have them like register so we know what to expect, how many people to expect. For Heather's, it seemed like it was a bigger turnout. Let's say, musicals bring people out of the woodwork. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, those are a good way to get new faces in. And then Steel Magnolias, I feel like it's a pretty beloved play. A lot of people are familiar with the movie. So we had a good turnout with it, but they're tough to cast because, with 30 people who are showing up, there are only 6 roles in that play.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a process.
6 roles?
Yeah, 6. There's 6 characters
So
in
some of them got cut from the...
Most
of them, yeah.
Our cast is exclusively women.
Yeah. So 6 women are cast in it. And, and it's hard because a lot of times, like, as you mentioned earlier, everyone in the arts community, we all know each other. So, you have people that you love and care about, your friends coming to audition for these shows, and you have to tell them, no, I can't. Can't do it. Get out. Sorry.
Yeah. You suck.
Please come and watch it anyway. Or can you help out with tech, by the way? But yeah, I mean, it's okay though.
That's part of it.
That's part of it. Yeah, for sure. It's part of it.
And look, man, like, you do this long enough, the director is going to do what's good for the show.
Sure.
Right. I would expect nothing less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here in Beckley, and I think it's this way nationally, especially in rural locations, right? I hate the phrase support the arts, right? Because I don't want you to come support the arts. I want you to come have a good time.
Yeah.
And if what I do does not merit you coming back, I want you to stay at home and I want you to watch Grey's Anatomy. I want you to turn on, pro wrestling. Great. I love pro wrestling. Watch it, But every show we do has to be good. Every show we do has to be good, because if it's bad, people are going to waffle on whether they come back. I feel like folks, have been conditioned to expect a 3-hour show where they can't drink, and it's probably going to be of middle to low quality. That's what folks grow up with, anywhere just about these days with theater, unless you're in a big city. And something that brings joy to my life is, and this has happened, you're going to think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. This has happened, dozens of times. I know it's probably been said to y'all too. People walk out of a collective show and they said, I didn't know it could be like that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm like, hell yeah. Heck yeah.
And that's an amazing feeling to have reached people like that. And that's, just, there's a lot of passion that goes into these.
You know how I am? I have such low self-esteem, and I'm such a fragile person that I can get 100 great reviews and I'll get half of a bad one.
Yeah.
And I want to quit. I want to
absolutely
burn the studio down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know why I do that. But have y'all ever had to go through that? Have you had to go through some blowback on some stuff of like, I don't know, they kind of said the F word like 12 times and my kid was there. It's like weird. Or anything like that ever happened?
People left Heather's for sure. I was running the ticket booth and they were left mid-show like, man, that's a lot of bad language.
A lot of stuff going on in this.
You must not have seen the film, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
Well, explicit rating warning on the marketing materials,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and we have done shows of varying quality before, because it's like a football team, right? Like sometimes you do a show to build your roster, right? We've had shows where folks come in and we say, hey, look, we don't care who you are, just come in and bring a show. We'll give you the resources to do this, because that is part of our mission statement too, to educate and grow the arts here. And, sometimes you don't always play your A string, so that organization part of it is weird too. Sometimes you're firing on all cylinders. Sometimes you've got other motives. So I can think of, in 7 years, 1 or 2 where I've thought, this one's kind of on the fence, right? But for the most part, I'm ecstatic about the level of art that we've been able to put out in this organization.
And to me, that's part of it too, right? Is like, especially with social media as it is today, you kind of only see the creation at its greatest form being presented to you in perfection.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the hours, if not years of time spent sucking at whatever it is you do that went into that, and that's I think that's a huge part of it, getting people who have never been on stage so that they can see how hard it is to put up a show and all the little ins and outs. And I always say this too, like during tech week, right before you're going to open the show, it feels like, did we make a bad decision? Like, can we really do that? Like, can we do this? Then you always find that you can, and you do, but like you gotta ride that razor's edge a little bit to walk away from it with some growth, I think,
I like the way you say that. Like you're going to suck for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's like with videos. That's what I'll tell anyone that gets into it. They're like, oh, well, you seem to like what you do. I think I'm going to buy me a camera. I'm going to get into it. I'm like, yeah, do it. And then they're like, you got any tips? I'm like, well, you're going to be absolutely terrible for about 50 videos. But you got to make all 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm talking hours.
Got to keep going.
Hours.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that you suck, but also appreciate what you're learning.
Yeah.
And know, like, you have the taste for what's good, and you got to know that you're not there yet. Yeah. And then you just keep working. Of course, you never get there because you always find stuff you can do better.
And you never should. Hopefully, if you never will.
Yeah.
You always have to just strive to.
My wife always says, when you're green, you're growing, and when you're ripe, you're rotting.
Ooh,
yeah. That's a good one. I like that. That's a good one.
Yep. Shout out to Papa Nick.
And
shout out to Tiff for that one.
I hate rotten bananas. But I hate green bananas. But like, you got to get the banana right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's like, golden zone. Ride that out. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. So, all right. What about set building? So do these things have these intricate sets, or are you kind of like playing with the lighting to make the set? Or how do you figure out what you need? Do they have a parts list?
You're a director. You tell me.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, well, so how I would look at it is I would be like, all right, let's read the story. And then I'll be like, Yeah, we can't do that. Can't do that.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
May can do that. And then you just try to simplify it.
But
So-
yeah.
So here's what you do. You look at the individual needs of the show,
Mhm.
right? And we're never going to be able to compete, nor would I want to, with some, 6-digit production they're doing up there and, God knows where, right? Like, I would much rather see a cool idea that's articulated artistically on stage and sit there and go, oh, that's a cool concept, or oh, that's a cool way they did that, Example, I was watching Hadestown up in Charleston. They had a touring center with the Clay production recently, and there's a part in that show where it's a cave. You have this young lady, Eurydice, who it's totally dark on stage, and she keeps popping up and popping down and showing up at different points on the stage. And instead of making like this big elaborate stage, they just had total darkness, and they would have these really tight lights where she would just pop up and you'd see her head and then it'd go away, and she'd be on the other side of the stage, pop up, go away, right? And that costs nothing to do. You put a special up there, and I still think about that, and we're here 3 weeks, 4 weeks later.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is the performance really, you can have someone act, and if they're a good actor, they can act the phone book and draw you into it. So it's really like
Definitely.
the performance is the most important thing, and then we will
Mm-hmm.
design things around that. is
Yeah,
probably what-
absolutely.
yeah, that makes sense.
We're doing the last 5 years coming up, and that's this is, I guess, kind of a plug, but I'm getting to a story with it. We're doing it at the Beckley Women's Club this July. Okay. And for those who aren't familiar with that space, it's a room that can seat
40, 50
50
maybe.
people.
Yeah.
The show is a 2-person musical. And what happens is, man starts at the left side, woman starts at the right side. Woman sings a song, she edges closer to the center. Man sings a song, he edges closer to the center. And when the woman's singing, she's at the end of the relationship. The man's singing at the beginning of the relationship. And they each move backward and forward in time, respectively, until they get to the middle. And the middle's their wedding.
Yeah.
And when they get married, then they start on that other side, and the man starts falling out of love, and the woman starts falling in love
with someone else.
No, well,
Oh, okay.
with him, with him.
With him, right?
Now the
Just
man,
going through- yes.
we'll see about the man.
Well, yeah.
I know like
No
12 of
spoilers.
these people in my life that
Yeah.
had this,
Well-
this same story.
Well, it's a very cool idea, right? To have this playing with time and this dramatic irony of seeing this relationship at all its stages, because that is a 5-year cross section of these people's lives.
right.
But what I'm getting to with this with staging is I'm going to direct the show. And what I'm thinking about right now is having the Beckley Women's Club be turned into almost like a wedding venue, and have these tables, have the play go on around these tables, on the floor with everybody. And, make it into this kind of encompassing thing where you're in that space. You're here to watch a wedding and to see this relationship live and die, and it won't have any special lights. It'll be in your face with just those 2 actors and just 2 instruments. And we're all going to be here dealing with this thing together. That's the beauty of theater. Some of the best shows I've seen have been in a bar.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
fancy.
Then you got, Willie and Sally over there like, yeah, I think it's like we need to get divorced. Like it's time.
Right. Yeah.
Well, hey,
Well, you know
I know a
what?
great divorce lawyer.
yeah. Man, that sounds amazing though. But and I think that would be part of the fun is this puzzle of how do we make this not suck, y'all? Let's
Yes.
get together and kind of
Yeah.
figure it out. Do you have like a early dry run, or do you memorize lines first, or how do you memorize lines? Let's talk about that. I mean, that's a lot of lines.
Carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of lines. A lot of it comes from just rehearsing and repetition of going over the text and performing the material. And then there's the other half of it where you're just like, you waited too long to memorize your lines. You have to be off book tomorrow, and you're just like repeating it over and over and over again for 8 hours the day before you have to know them. But I mean, it's a mixture of studying really hard and just doing it. Muscle memory.
Yeah, when you're
You know?
on stage and it's been the blocking portion of it is when you say I'm coming in at this time,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to say
It's all
this,
the
and then I
movement.
leave at this point.
Yeah.
When you incorporate that movement, it becomes muscle
Yeah.
memory as well. You remember when I stand up, I say,
Oh,
"Oh,
I say
it's
that.
this," you know.
Yeah.
So that really helps for me as an actor is to
Definitely.
get through the motions. you know?
Yeah, that's fun. So blocking, for people who don't know, that's essentially where you decide all the movement is going to be. Like, this person walks over here and stands, and then this one comes over here and they slap him in the face, and
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes.
So when you start doing the blocking portion, is the director are you all shuffling? Like, okay, you direct this one, I'll take that one, or and then you does the director watch and decide from the stands of like, okay, well, I want them to move here? Is that kind of who decides that?
Yeah, well, kind of. So it's a little bit of both. So what I have done with Steel Magnolias is some scenes we have started off and I say, okay, move when you feel like is the right time. Feel it out. And then there are other scenes where we'll get to and nobody has moved for several pages. And then I'm like, okay, so this is what we're going to do here. And then, at that point you have to kind of step in and micromanage. And, I kind of already have an idea of what I want. But at the same time, it's important to foster creativity and allow the actors to move comfortably in the space and, trust them that they know what they're doing with their character. And, sometimes you end up in the right place and sometimes you don't.
Yeah. How do you give notes?
So notes, I will watch them run the scene that we did. We'll block it out and I'll stop them as many times as I need to. And we'll, comment on little things or, and then after we've completed the blocking, at that point, I will watch it without stopping them and I will just take notes on, whatever it is. If it's something to do with the character, if there's a line that's reading funny because the actor doesn't really understand its intent, why they're saying it, or maybe they're not being loud enough or just whatever it is, little things. We'll go over those notes and then we'll run it again.
Gotcha.
And that's basically the process through the whole thing, just growth. And we're blocking Steel Magnolias right now. We'll be finished with that next week. And at that point, it's going to be all character development and acting and performance. And I cannot wait to get into that.
You done with the blocking?
Yeah, definitely. Blocking is fine, but I want to get
It's kind of
into
boring.
the meat,
Now it's for like a short film, it's everything. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, but I'm sure it's important for a play too, but literally for a movie, if you don't shoot something a certain way, the emotion probably won't translate.
Yeah.
So it's like a play, everyone's in a room and they're witnessing this thing. So have you ever had to fire anyone? And you don't have to answer that. I'm just curious if does anyone get an ego and they're like, you know what? This is how someone's sugar goes low and I'm not going to listen and I'm leaving.
Well, fortunately, no. This show's going really well, but I'm sure we've all worked with some people who have egos.
It's drama.
Yeah, it's, it's drama,
I hate
right?
that.
It's drama.
No, here's the thing. People are like, theater's so dramatic and all this. I'm like, no, man, no, it's really not when it's done right.
Yeah.
95% of the time in the shows that we've done, it has been a group of people who genuinely love each other, who have come in and focused on the craft. My buddy Robbie Moore, who to me is emblematic of the arts in Beckley, West Virginia. I'm going to butcher his quote, but I love telling it to people. The joy comes from the work, right? It's type 2 fun sometimes in that it's hard work. Like Olivia said, you're sitting there looking in the mirror, saying your lines over and over, or you're sweating, or you're not seeing your family, or whatever.
Right.
And that part isn't going to give you a rush like you would prefer, right? It's not fun, but your satisfaction comes out of the final product. And when you can put that ahead of yourself and understand there are going to be some bumps and some personality conflicts or whatever, but still, you're working with fundamentally good people, right? when you can recognize that and get past it, then it's going to be a satisfying and rewarding experience. And that's what we've had almost always with our shows. I'm very thankful for
and
that.
typically groups of people who haven't worked together, maybe even met each other, and then they all come together and just overcome this insurmountable task. It's something to behold, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'd say that would be a real cool part, seeing it from like, okay, well, here's what we picked, to like, all right, opening night. Are y'all freaking out like the first night, or are you kind of like, yes, this is awesome, like, oh, this is what I want to do?
Some people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people are. I am always incredibly nervous opening night, but I think it's a good thing. You know, if I wasn't nervous, I probably would not care about whatever that production was. So nerves are good. They come from a good place. You know, it's adrenaline and it's driving you, and you know. But the energy that comes from having a live audience is just a totally different thing than what goes on during rehearsal.
What's the typical crowd size?
We've sold out more often than not. I will say in recent shows, we've done the Raleigh seats,
188.
Yeah, 188.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
188.
And it's a wonderful place to watch movies, to watch plays. Highly suggest the Raleigh Playhouse in Beckley. My dude Shane, I'm sorry I called him. I put him on blast in the first 5 minutes. I might have to cut that.
Let him hear it. Let him hear it.
Yep. I love Shane. But when I watched Ambrosia, like really, it's next level. And Adam, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Shout out to Butter Chicken.
Yeah, Butter Chicken Pictures.
Well, shout out to Shane in general. You know, he has been a friend of this organization in ways that I can't really articulate here, because we would be here all night. He's a tremendous supporter of the arts, both in idea and practice here. We really
unofficial founding member of the collective.
For
Let's
sure.
go. Shane.
For sure.
Oh, yeah, Shane's awesome. I was telling y'all, I met him, I think it was 2018, and they done a screening of Corner to Fighter Story, a boxing documentary I did about McDowell County. And Shane's just such a genuine dude. And I was so pumped. I think it took him a while on post for Ambrosia. It took about a year and a half, something like that. And it come out, and I was just like, whoa. I actually hired Chris Oxley to be in the movie I'm doing.
Nice.
And from his role on that, because he was on there doing work.
Yep.
But shout out Chris. But yeah, so I highly suggest y'all check that out. I think it's playing near, I saw it was screening again somewhere local. But if y'all can see that, definitely go see it.
Yeah, we got very lucky to see it at the
Marquee Cinemas.
Marquee Cinemas. I was with Adam. He had his son. How old is Elliot?
He was 8 at the time.
He walks in with Elliot, has no concept that he's about to see his dad in a film.
Right?
And I was just watching the whole time. Like they're sitting in front of me.
Well, the thing that got me was like, I popped up on the screen, I looked at him, he's just like,
What's going on here?
Whatever.
I was like, yeah, this is dad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, well, he popped up and I was like, I know that guy. He's on billboards.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I can hire him to like do legal stuff.
That's
This
right.
is great. And
That's
he's an
right.
actor. And
Reasonable,
it's good.
great, competent representation.
Yeah.
Whole package.
Yeah, super cool. And before I forget, I'm misplacing his name. What's the
That's Dave.
Dave?
Dave Gravely.
So the first time I met Dave was in Charleston at the Fleur Lee. I went to a screening there and saw it, and then I asked him like 100 questions. Because when I see something like that, I just know how much it takes to make something like that. And it's different like than a play, because you're trying to get everything absolutely perfect, and you got to say the same lines 100,000 times, and you got to, long hours, which, plays long hours, but I think it would be harder to actually nail it in one take.
Yeah.
But even still, sometimes that stuff can get frustrating, and people want to go home, and, they didn't realize they were in for a 14-hour day and
Yeah.
all this stuff. But man, I was just so proud of them for doing that.
Yeah, I had a million questions after I saw Ambrosia. I'm like, how did you get the teapot to do the day? No spoilers, but these were things
in that.
yeah,
The
things I
egg?
was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. But and the set design, so you can tell too, like, and I don't know if this is true, but and I got to give them their flowers here because I called them out about a T-shirt. But really, Shane,
Send it,
it's
Shane.
okay. But the set
not okay.
design was absolutely beautiful, and they did it in a way. It felt like a Wes Anderson film.
Yep.
In a way, it was like, and Justin Linton was the director of photography, which is he's shooting our movie, so I'm pumped.
Nice.
But it was just so good. So how they did that, like they made all of these crops and they made them out of like wood, and that's not going to work unless you nail a tone. And it worked, and they just did so well. But anyways, all right, moving on. So. Have you ever had a point, anyone can answer this. Have you ever literally forgot what to say while you're live?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. All the time. Yeah, it happens, not every show, but sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you'll have a show and you drop maybe a very important line and you skipped ahead 2 or 3 pages and you're like, oh no.
Then let's play How Do We Fix It? Or do we fix it?
Now you got to play
right?
How Do We Fix It?
Yeah.
But, it's never as bad as it feels like.
Yeah.
The
Well, it's
audience doesn't
mortifying
know
when
this.
you're on stage,
It's mortifying, yeah, but they don't know.
Sure.
And oftentimes it goes unnoticed by the people in the audience, thankfully.
That's kind of the
But
key
yeah,
is to
it's
play
very
it
common.
off as if
Yeah,
it
you
didn't
just play it
happen.
off. Sometimes you have to just kind of make things up as you go along. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's awesome. So you improv?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You can. I mean, not a lot, but, just to kind of like get back on track.
Like you can't change the plot. Like,
Right. You can't change the plot,
have
but
a
you
heart
can
attack.
kind of figure out what to say to, segue into what you were supposed to.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dance, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
big,
dance.
long dance. And if you
Absolutely.
mess up a step, you both know what the next step is supposed to be,
Yes.
right? So how do we get there?
Yeah. So you're
that's the
kind of,
game.
trying to, read each other, trying to figure out, okay, are you thinking what I'm thinking? How are we going to fix this?
Yeah,
So,
the best is when like you're waiting on somebody to come on stage and they just don't.
show up.
We did frack. Jamie was talking about it earlier. This young lady was supposed to give me a stage slap, and when you get a stage slap, the recipient is supposed to hold up their hand away from the camera, and then that makes the noise, and of course you just you fake the rest. This girl smacked the soul out of me. I went back, and I'm 6'4", like I weigh 200 pounds. I'm not small. But she smacked me so hard, full throttle, wrist hit my chin. I went spiraling back, and this is in the middle of a song, like a big song and dance number. Spiraling back, we had a table that was on wheels. That table rolled off stage. I had a banjo that broke every string on it. What do you do?
This is like
What
a
do you
bar
do?
fight.
Well, yeah. In my adult life, I've been hit 3 times. That was one of them and probably hurt the most. But what do? You just keep singing, dancing, smile. The worst thing you can do if something goes wrong on stage is pretend it didn't.
Yes.
I tell people, I heard the term, this is a true story. I heard the term a long time ago called a dangling gestalt. For what that is.
Okay.
What is a dangling gestalt? I always thought it was
I'm
just
all
kind of
ears.
something
What is
that,
that?
me too.
Yeah, you got me.
I always thought it was this garbage I just heard and was not a real thing. So today, I finally had the good sense to Google it, and I looked it up. It's from Gestalt psychology. It's anything that remains unresolved, right?
Oh.
So let's say you're on stage and there's a vase and it falls over. You better be picking that vase up. I don't care what your blocking is.
Yeah.
Because if you've got 188 people looking at you and seeing that vase fall over, they're not stupid. They're going to know it's not supposed to. So every bit of focus in that house is going on that vase until
Absolutely.
something happens with it. It's the dangling gestalt, right?
Sure.
So you just got to have some common sense when you're up there about how to resolve mistakes, because they're going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like, realistically, if you knock something over, you're going to pick it up. That's just
Yeah.
being a human.
Yeah.
being. So,
Hopefully.
hopefully, I mean,
You're not just a
can't
monster.
speak for everyone, but, and that's, people on stage, that's who they're portraying, are real characters, real people.
Mhm.
And so when you have stuff like that happen, you just, you can't just not acknowledge it. That's really going to mess up the whole vibe of the show. And once you lose an audience's attention, it's very difficult to get it back. And that's really the thing.
Sure. How do y'all recommend, like, how did you maintain creativity and be able to pay your bills around here? like, what do you recommend? Like, we know, Adam, you went to law school, but is it possible to do this type of stuff and figure out how to do it for a living around here? Or what do you think?
Jamie, what do you think?
Everyone's story is different. Like, I know for me, I always say, yeah, it's possible. Quit your job. Who needs jobs?
Right. Who needs a job?
But at the same
Technically,
time,
anything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, technically anything is possible, right?
I don't do this for a job, so I don't look at it that way. I have found, luckily for me, I guess, a way to do creative work, but it's for companies to sell products and things like that. It's not following passions and dreams. I think around here, it is tough to do it. You have to do it for yourself, I think, and not look at it like you're doing it for a check.
sure.
Is the way that I see it. You could certainly position that if you do that long enough, you become good enough. Who knows what you could do, I guess. But
Yeah.
kind of like we were saying, to me, the beauty is in doing it itself, and knowing that I did it.
Yeah. Well, and on that too, like, you're still using your skill set to make products that people believe in enough to purchase, and you're able to pay your bills, because that's kind of like me. Like, I ain't coal mining no more. Like, that's a job.
Same here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, but at the same time, like, not that it's your passion to make so-and-so product for somebody so they can package and sell, but at the same time, at least you get to use your creative skill set that they couldn't use. They didn't have personally, and they could just hire you to do it, and you can provide a service, and you're not slaving away in a coal mine somewhere trying to earn a living. Now, granted, that sounds bad. I loved what coal mining did for my life. I always tell people, like, don't quit your job until you have another plan to provide for yourself. Like, 'cause I mean, a lot of people would be lucky to have a real job like coal mining or whatever, because you get to earn a good living, you get to have health insurance and all this stuff. But at the same time, when people look at me like, wait a minute, you charge what to make what? Like, you make videos? Like, that's a thing? A lot of people around here don't believe that you can, monetize your creativity. And I just feel opposite.
Well, I'll say this. We started with, 3 guys, who were, day drinking, talking about some things we wanted to do. We have a substantial board. We, have grants coming in. We have a staff member who is listening to this podcast, we might say, whom we are very blessed to have. She's tremendous. Kelly Gano. She is, working hard to make bigger things happen. Every year there is growth, right? So can you do this kind of thing around here and make a day job out of it? No. Is it my goal to have an arts infrastructure in Beckley, West Virginia, where 10 years from now that's possible? Yes. Is it feasible? Yes.
Shoot, yeah. And shout out to my wife. She was like, I said, Jenna, the West Virginia Collective, I think that's the first one that I'm going to pick. And she was like, oh, Kelly Gano. And I was like, oh, really? Because I knew Kelly. And she was like, yeah, she's on like 48 nonprofits. Like, that's true.
That's
she's
true.
doing all this stuff. I was like, yeah, she's with it. So then I messaged Kelly, and then it was, bada bing, bada boom. So yeah. And let's gear that question. Like, I know the collective is a passion project for sure. So what would you all say to anyone out there that may be in some rural type area that is thinking, you know what? I love the movie Heathers. I want to do that show. Where do they start? What do you all think?
Well, I mean, that's it. That's where they start, is just having the passion for the Heathers or whatever it is. And, if you seek out other people in the community who want to produce this type of stuff, they're out there. And you wouldn't think that there were a ton of people in these little small towns who have this kind of passion for theater and other things, but there are so many artistic minded people in this area. And And that's all it takes is just the desire to do it. And, if you want to do it and you put in the effort to do it, you're going to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Just don't, you can't just sit on it and dwell on it and, say, well, I can't do it because I live in, Wyoming County or wherever. But
yeah. Heck yeah. See, look at your resources.
Yeah.
Look at your assets.
It's out there. You might have to drive a little bit to,
I think the internet has stratified it a lot too.
Yeah, for sure.
In that, people have heard of Heather's the Musical here. So they got excited when the audition came up, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There are incredible theater communities in Wyoming County, in Logan County, and one may start to think like, there's nobody doing that kind of stuff there, but there are, and they're very passionate about it.
The best play I may be exaggerating a little, but not much, was I watched Beauty and the Beast at Westside High School.
When?
This was probably, I think Nora was little when we went. So it was probably about 8 years ago, 7 years. I can't remember. But Jason Morgan, I don't know if y'all know.
Jason was their musical director for Heather's.
This dude played Gaston. And I'm telling you, one thing about Jason is he transforms into these characters. I don't know if he still does it, but I know when he was in high school, we went and watched Beauty and the Beast, and I was floored. I was like, how in the world is this here? So that's, some of these high schools are bringing some fire.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
talk about those small communities, right? Mullins High School had a tremendously capable theater teacher for decades. His name was Benny Mills down there. And that whole community, when he did a play, that whole community showed up, sold out every night, not a seat in the house, because they knew that was a gathering point culturally for that community. They knew they could go see some of the kids they knew in it. They knew they'd go down and have a good time. And maybe there wasn't a ton going on in Mullins, but that was going on. And that is the power of it. That's a portion of it. People are like, oh, I'm too isolated. I can't do that.
Screw that.
That is because
Right.
that is why you should be doing it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's so freaking cool. Like, you go to New York or whatever, you see an amazing play, Spider-Man flying through the thing or whatever.
I don't know if that's an amazing one.
I mean,
People died, JD.
Did they die?
I think so.
Dude,
I
really?
think so.
I think
somebody was killed.
Oh,
during
freaking
that.
in the ring.
So, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
That's
so,
okay.
You might need that attorney here pretty soon.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Hey, listen, speed dial. But so I think when you come across, let's just say you're at a random bar, there's this photo of Tyler Childers, and I think he was playing in Charleston.
He used to play in Fayetteville, man.
Did he really?
Well, yeah. Well, he was in this place. Not one person was paying attention to him.
Yeah.
He was just over there on a seat playing his guitar. And it's one of my favorite photos because I like to think like, what if I was that one person to go into that place and hear him play, 4 years before he kicked off or whatever it ended up being. I think that is so such a normal occurrence around here that you'll just go in somewhere and be like, who is that playing? And then you all of a sudden get introduced to maybe this different type of style you've never heard, or this voice that, you know how some people's voices sound like history? Like it's just like this soul, like that's not normal. You know what I mean? When you hear it.
Yeah.
So I think that's so, like, was prevalent the word? I don't know. It's so available. I don't know the words. I'm bad at words, but in Appalachia especially, it's just such a hidden gem when you come across that stuff. And I think it's that much funner. Like the West Side play.
Yeah.
You go down there and I'll sit there and watch it and you'll realize where you're at. And you're in this place, Oceana, who has gotten a bad rep for oxys and all this stuff. And they made a documentary about, called it Oxyana and all this stuff. But then all these people get in this room and they make this thing and they blow you away and they can compete with anyone. I mean, that play could have competed with anyone that I watched. Now, granted, I'm not a professional, but it was incredible.
But Jason Morgan is.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Good dude.
Good dude. Yeah. Excellent filmmaker too. But yeah, so I think that's part of the fun in Appalachia. I don't know if it's big fish, little pond type stuff or what it is, but I just think it's that more special when you come across it.
Yeah, it's very special. And, a lot of people think that they may not even be interested in the theater or in whatever genre of live music that they go out to see. But when you get out of your house, you go and you see something live, it's a totally different thing, and you're going to experience things that you didn't think that you had an interest in before. And it's going to open up a lot of creativity in people.
Yeah. And go multiple nights too, because you'll see stuff that
different every time. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's there's always something to be said for storytelling. Right?
Yeah.
You had one of the best storytellers maybe in the United States in here a few weeks ago in Bug Stover. And it's the same kind of thing. That's its own special brand of theater. Theater isn't with an orchestra pit. It's not with a big red curtain.
Mm-hmm.
It is storytelling.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's such a special word.
Dude, storytelling is it's the most important thing on earth.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say it. And I posted a story about Anthony Bourdain, and I posted earlier, it's like he's the antithesis of what you think a West Virginian is. Like he's a self-proclaimed Trump-hating liberal, whatever. Which, again, no politics, but he came in here. You would think that the usual narrative for an outsider coming in is to be like, look at all these poor people. Look at them. They're Trump voters. They're so stupid. They're this, they're that. But no, he made the most beautiful story about West Virginia that I've ever seen.
It was Welch, right?
Yeah, Welch. Yeah.
Well, it was Welch, but it was Lost Creek. So Lost Creek Farm.
Yep.
Was in it. Mike Costello. Oh my God. You talk about chef. I don't know if y'all went to their farm to table dinners. My goodness.
Up in Harrison County?
What county is that in? I know it's called Lost Creek. You pass an exit.
Yeah, that's Harrison County.
Oh, is that Harrison County?
Right around that Clarksburg, Bridgeport.
It's about 2 hours from here.
Yeah.
So they were on the show, and Mike is like, dude, I ate these trout empanadas one time while he sat there and explained a 17-minute story on why he created these things.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm like, this is incredible. You know what I mean? So him telling that story, being a chef, just made the food taste that much better. That's just why I think it's the most important thing ever. And I appreciate y'all coming in.
Oh, this has been a blast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate
in
you,
every way.
both your company and your cold hard dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to get y'all drunk. I'm just kidding. They're not gonna, they ain't a bunch of raging alcoholics, but I like beer. And, beer does I better stop. Well, it does make me creative if I drink one, but if I drink two, I'm on the table taking my shirt off. It's a whole problem. So
I've been there.
yeah, you gotta be responsible. I'm a very cheap drunk, but, where can people let's talk, show dates, times, where they can see all this stuff, how they can get involved.
So Jamie, you want to give the lineup and then I'll talk a little bit about involvement.
I thought I had my little thing here.
Oh, take your time. We'll just ramble while he's looking for the.
So let me tell you about how to get involved while he's pulling up dates.
Yeah.
So we're, I would say, the most active on Facebook, even though I got my strong feelings about Facebook. It remains an important tool, especially in rural areas, to communicate, right? So message us through there. You can go WV Collective. You will find us and somebody will respond to you. We see every message that comes to us. But, we will put you to work. People think you have to be super talented or you have to have experience or whatever. My biggest joy out of this, again, is arts education and enabling people to do other cool things, right? Some of my favorite success stories are, kids in high school we've had who I've watched blossom socially and get a sense of confidence in themselves by doing our program, right? So we're looking for all types and makes and ages and everything of people, okay? Reach out to us, say, hey, I'd like to be involved. What can I do? I could think of half dozen things right now I need from people, and I put you to work with this organization, and I promise you'll get a good experience out of that, But follow us on Facebook. That's the easiest way to stay posted about what we're doing. And Jamie, we have a few shows lined up. You want to plug
We do.
those.
I don't know when is this going to air.
This is gonna air on. Let me see here. It's gonna be
Not
make sure I
tomorrow,
tell you
right?
It'll be the 28th.
Okay, so we have a show tomorrow. If you want to come, feel free.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
sweet. 22nd.
The 22nd, we have a project we've been working on called the Lost Tunes Project with the band called the Long Point String Band. They perform traditional Appalachian string band music, and we've been talking to different historians, archivists from the Augusta archives and stuff like that, and different musicians. And we put together a battery of 8 songs that we have been recording over the past few months at Kid in the Background studio in Beckley. We're going to release all this music for just a live performance tomorrow at the Raleigh.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and so the
awesome.
album will be released shortly after that.
I'll post that in the picture caption.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm gonna take a picture of y'all. Well, a shameless plug of y'all holding a check and like all the smiling, all that
Love
good
it.
stuff.
We've got, of course, Steel Magnolias, which is being directed by Miss Olivia Merritt, who we have here with us. That's going to be April 17th through the 26th. We got WV Pub Fest, which is a music festival that we have put on. This is the 6th one, I believe. So this is bands. There's going to be 18 different bands from all over West Virginia. They're all donating their time at Weatherground Brewery to raise money for WV Collective and for West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so we started that back when they were having financial dire straits, and we basically found out a cool reason to get all our buddies at a brewery to play music together. And so
That's awesome.
that's happening in May. Then we've got a youth theater camp that we're putting together that's not announced yet, but it will be coming in June.
Yeah.
So that'll be for elementary age kids to come and get a hands-on experience of what it's like to build props, make a set, go through a script, and put a little show up,
Heck yeah.
So,
how to
and-
say the F word? How
No.
to,
That's
okay.
right.
No, not
That's
necessarily.
right. How to burn an effigy,
Yeah.
We've
dance
got
around a fire.
Adam was talking about the last 5 years, which we have in July of 2025. So tickets are on sale for that on our website as well. And then we're doing Avenue Q in the fall. We just we knew we were doing it at the Raleigh Playhouse and Theater, and that's not quite as certain as it was. So we're still trying to find a home for that with that change, but that's on our roster for the fall.
Heck
So
yeah. So I need y'all to judge me as a parent. So I gave my daughter a pass to say each pit when we go
Yeah.
to the football game.
Sure.
this fall.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Is that
right.
okay?
I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's mandated.
That's like,
That's what I'm saying.
I think,
pepperoni
yeah,
rolls
it's
and Mountain
fine.
Dew, right? That's just West Virginia stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she's 10,
Yeah.
So,
Well,
like-
yeah, my son Luca, he's 8 and he's, 9. He's 9 now. And he's
I mean,
said a few
I
nasty
I've
words here and there.
I've never like Nora. I've never heard her say anything, but it's gonna make me. I'm gonna laugh,
Yeah.
but also high five if she does it. I'll be shocked.
Right.
But I
right.
gotta give her a pass for the pit game.
Yeah, for sure. I
Coach
mean,
Rod's back this year. Like, let's go.
My daughter is 5 and she'll test the water sometimes,
Right.
so she's like lays one on me and I'm like, man, she used that correctly.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing is when they do
You
it
do it right.
correctly,
What happened
if
there?
you're going to do it right. You
Yeah.
have to know you can't do it at school, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
And,
yeah. Know
time and a place.
know your environment.
Know your
Yeah.
environment.
Read the room, no
These
teachers,
are-
no mamas,
These are
we're
just life skills.
Let's just turn this into a parenting podcast. Ready?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because we're watching. So she's going through Walking Dead for the first time
Okay.
in
Yeah.
her life, and I'm like, she's 10. You
Yeah.
know, it's time.
Okay.
I watched.
time.
It's time.
I watched.
Rite of passage.
I watched it when I was 4, and it changed my life.
Oh,
It's not
yeah.
watch. It's not
Yeah.
really rewatchable now, but
Yeah.
it's still good. Tim Curry.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, it's so cool because we'll be watching and she'll bring up a plot point. And she'll say, you know what? I think that they're doing this because they're foreshadowing that this, and they want you to know about this. And I'm like, that's a
Oh, wow.
really good
Yeah.
point.
Hey, we have a children's theater camp coming.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Should be
those
all
are
about
great.
that.
Those are
That'd be
great.
great, man.
Great script analysis skills right there. So,
Yeah, she's gonna be in the Mothman movie I'm shooting.
Yes.
ooh, excellent. Very cool.
Yeah, I was like, I can't yell at other kids. I gotta like be able to.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I sound like the word. I'm kidding, y'all. Calm down.
My daughter would just hide in the dark and say, "We all float down here, Daddy."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Luca, my son, he went through a Pennywise phase. Now he's terrified of him. You know,
The new
he was
Pennywise
real into it. Now he's
Oh yeah, that kid's creepy.
You know.
The new,
Yeah. Oh, very creepy.
I think Tim Curry's worse. You know, I can handle like just kind of default scary, which is
Yeah.
like the new Pennywise to me. Like that Tim Curry Pennywise, like he made it effortless.
Did you
Yeah.
guys ever see the Tim Curry played 3 different roles in an episode of Tales from the Crypt?
oh, really?
Oh,
No.
yeah. that's so
I
good.
have
Yeah,
not
so
a
seen
good.
door-to-door
that.
salesman pulled up. I believe it was in a West Virginia-esque type
Really?
setting, like in a holler,
Of course.
unnamed holler. And he's trying to sell his wares, and these people, this family gets him inside. And next thing you know, he's got to marry the daughter and all this different stuff. But Tim
Yeah.
Curry played the mother, the father, and the daughter.
Wow.
Right? Oh,
that's so
wow.
good.
Tim Curry's a
It's great.
talented actor.
Yeah.
He is.
Oh,
best.
the best.
Yeah.
Have you seen him lately? It's sad.
Yeah.
He's getting old.
Yeah. He is getting.
I'm just gonna watch Clue. I don't want to have this.
Do you
new Tim
watch,
Curry. I'm not ready for it.
Do you have Shudder? Anyone? The
Mm-mm.
horror streaming service. So Creep Show. You remember Creep Show?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they have a new Creep Show, like 5 seasons worth.
Huh?
Greg Nicotero did.
Sounds interesting.
So not
Yeah.
films like a show.
No, it's well, each one's a different short film essentially.
Okay, yeah.
Like 40-minute short film. And like Gus Fring from Breaking Bad's in the
Yeah.
first, like there's all
dude.
kinds of really good actors. So anyway, highly suggest that. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you being here. Go see Still Magnolias and check out wvcollective.org.
That's it. wvcollective.org. It's got tons of information about the organization itself, about the shows we're putting up. You can buy tickets there. So go there frequently.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you all. I appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate what you do. And I'm definitely going to make my way out there more often. And everyone else, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Creepalachia. Don't forget we are on Facebook, TikTok. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, take a 3-minute break, review the show. Don't judge me as a parent. I promise you, I love my daughter more than anything in this world. But everyone else, other than that, always remember above all else, long live Appalachia.
Amen.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.